How diverse and sustainable is our food system in Switzerland? What can we do as a society to make it more diverse and sustainable? What framework is needed to make this happen? In order to explore these questions, we have invited selected representatives of key players to take part in a discussion. I would like to extend a warm welcome with you, Andreas Nussbaumer. He's an organic farmer near Willisau. He has leased the farm Burgrein of the foundation Agrovision. Please, Andreas Nussbaumer.
Ein herzliches Willkommen auch an Yvonne.
Then also warm welcome to Yvonne Lötscher. She's a biologist and holder of a postgraduate degree in agriculture science. She's responsible for the implementation of the sustainable nutrition strategy at the city of Zurich. Welcome to you, Yvonne Lötscher. Then we welcome Bernhard Kammer. We're really happy he's here. Trained farmer and studied business administration. Heads the ecology and sustainability label of the Migros marketing department, Migros being the second biggest retailer of Switzerland. Welcome to you, Bernhard Kammer. Last but not least, Stefanie Hest, journalist, among other things, with Annabelle, a women's magazine. She writes books, for example, the guidebook Ökologisch, you saw it at the stand, and she's very familiar with the consumer's point of view. Thank you very much to you for coming here, Stefanie. How do you feel being on a stage like this? It's a bit exposed to the people, right? Yes. I would like to start with the first question to Andreas Nussbaumer. And first, I would like to tell a short story. When we prepared for this panel, we called each other and then he said, "Oh God, I have to go because a calf is being born." And then he told me, yes, everything worked out fine. It was a male calf. And you know what was the name that it was given? Yes, I thought, actually, I don't know Mr. Einhorn, but I think I just baptized the calf by the name of Frank, like Frank Einhorn. So we have two pieces of cattle carrying the name Frank here. Andreas Nussbaumer, you are organic farmer. We visited a few weeks ago your farm and we saw what you do. And diversity is a very important issue for you. What does diversity mean to you and what do you need to be able to produce with diversity? It needs several people. If you're by yourself as a farmer, you cannot actually have 10 different operational channels that you should be successful in. So we have actually to employ people with different talents, and that's why we can do it successfully with several channels here. So yes, we have cattle, dairy cattle, that are grazing in summer outside 100%, and they are feeding with hay in the winter. So they're only being fed by grass and hay. Then we have apple trees, maize, potatoes, and diverse other products. We have also small animals, husbandry, and yes, that's what we more or less have. It sounds to be lots of work. Is it worthwhile to do it in such a diverse way? Yes, it's true. It's a lot of work, but I tell myself I'm always on vacation. I'm on vacation on my farm, but you just have to really see what you do with your time. I'm self-employed. I know when I have to get up, and actually that's what I have to do because it's true. On a farm, you always have work. Can you go on at your ease how much you want to produce organically? Does it have any borderlines? Yes, of course, it has some limits. If I want to be economic, I need to have certain economies of scale. Otherwise, it wouldn't work out. If I'm only doing it for self-sufficiency, it may be a little bit easier. But that's something that limits us. On the other hand side, we already heard it today, we have very good risk distribution when you are doing several things. If you have several channels of operation, you can also distribute the risk. Yes, not do only one thing, because that's really risk prone. Yes, just thinking of the weather, so that may be a really negative factor. What about production side? Yvonne Lötscher, you are responsible with the food strategy of the city of Zurich. It's a very varied strategy. I just looked at your website. So what exactly is the city doing in this regard? Thank you very much for complimenting me. My work is very diverse. It starts with developing the strategy itself. We try to raise awareness of the people. We have some specific projects at schools. For example, we have the Vegetable Academy. Some schools have a very long tradition in focusing in the growing of vegetables. So it's academy. Did I hear you correctly? Yes, that's true. It's a youth association that's working with the students and the teachers. We have a field program. In the summer, they do vegetables, and in winter at school, and in winter they have some sustainable lectures to learn what all, is comprised in food and nutrition and feeding the people. Now, another question, what do you do also as the city? Yes, 10% of the city of Zurich's land can be used for agricultural purpose. We have a state or a city farm. Then we have tenants on city land, leases that are given out to families, and then we have several private farms. That's only the one hand side of the coin. We have, on the other hand side, about 5,000 family gardens, and the whole realm in between. You have community gardens, we have agriculture in solidarity, we have agroecological concepts, and I think all these projects are growing. Yes, we already in the past, we have introduced the people and our donors to Ante Loco to a solidarity farming project. So what about the selling point here? Do you have support in all of these projects, how the produce comes to reach the consumer? Yes, that's true. Actually, the city cannot do everything itself. The diversity needs to be there, and the consumer and the co-producer have to be appealed by that. So we try to sustain the classical supermarket, the organic shop, also the veggie bags, or that you are going to get your vegetables yourself. And I think it's good to have this diversity, because we have a lot of people living in the city and not everyone needs the same. So this has its effect. So what about the project side? If we think about sustainable food and a good menu, what do you think about that?
Of course, we do not only try to motivate farmers to produce differently, but we always try to stimulate, motivate consumers to buy differently, to fill their baskets with different products, and to also make them aware of what they throw away. We train cooks. We propose a series of cooking classes. We analyze. We examine what is measuring what you do is the one part of the exercise, but also analyzing what the result is. People who come and eat at our places will find a very vast offer, but it also imports to try and sensibilize the public, the audience. We'll come back to it in a minute. Yvonne Lötscher. Bernhard Kramer, Migros, a huge actor in the food chain, the supply chain. in Switzerland, a huge distributor like you who would not have a very vast variety of food and nutrition methods would disappear from the market. I checked the figures. The encouragement of diversity and sustainable products is part of your charter. Why doesn't Migros do more? Thank you, first of all, for having invited me today. One important factor is the following. Sustainability is something that we want to have affordable ecological organic products for all our consumers, and this diversity has to be reflected in all kinds of products. Of course, we have our own organic products, and this segment of the market has been and still is gaining lots of place, but other assortment should also contain a organic side to it. We try to buy in Switzerland for Swiss people, and to also convince producers to start producing in sustainable ways. Not too long ago, all the drinking milk has been transformed to obtain the IP label next to bio milk, organic milk, which we already offer. And we think it is essential to develop and to enlarge the scope of products. Do you have a limit to what you can offer and not? Well, limits finally are set by our consumers. You all here present and all those people who follow us by streaming are well informed, make their decisions in a conscious way. But the major part of our consumers, unfortunately, are not well enough or not informed enough. And we have to offer something suitable to those clients too. We cannot simply concentrate on those clients who buy or do their shopping in a more conscious way, in a more selective way. In other words, these selecting consciously what they put in their basket segment of consumers cannot represent the main part of your clients. Well, yes, because we know that some of them go abroad. And the clients are a very important part of our market. Stephanie Hess, you know them well. Have you noticed changes in the behavior of our clients? Is sustainability a topic that comes up again and again? Where are the challenges we and they are confronted with? Right, I do perceive or have perceived that sustainability on one's plate is a topic that has increased in importance in the past months and years. Very many people, however, do not know exactly how to go ahead with this, how to go about this. Frustration appears rapidly because, for instance, one says, well, let's go shopping. I will select a product with a green label or a green writing, and then later on one finds out that it isn't ecological or it does not support this or that project or doesn't contain the criteria that count for me. So yes, this frustration potential is huge. And also because many labels are not transparent. Migros is going to accomplish this essential step. But with this too vast selection of ecological labels, we have too much. We know Demeter, we know the green labels, but a series of them are not well informed about all the factors that are hidden by such names. It isn't always easy to decrypt what you see on a label. And the difference between label A, B, C, D aren't always very clear. Of course, as we all know, the greenwashing is a phenomenon that we also find in other fields, and people try simply to fill their pockets with the green label. So, of course, trust is an essential factor. What do? How can we buy in a more sensitive way? How do I know what to buy and what not to buy? This book, the book I wrote is based on months and years of research because it was not at all my topic. It isn't easy, I found out over the time. It's not easy to explain, to decipher, to understand what is meant by sustainability and organic products. It really wasn't easy. Still, when someone asks me what to do, I always quote the labels we know: Best Bio, Swiss, IP Swiss, Demeter. But shouldn't consumers also be able to trust what he and she sees, reads on the wrapping? Shouldn't we offer the tools for the consumer to understand what he and she buys and know if it is sustainable or not? Definitely, that is what should happen at the end of all these processes, that as a consumer, as a client, walking into a shop, I must know with 100% of certainty that product A or B is truly organic, truly biologically produced. Even to feed oneself, to eat in a sustainable and organic way is expensive, true. But if it becomes norm, then everybody can afford it. Another question which certainly concerns Mr. Kammer, right? You are trying to get consumers on board to go along those ways, but how or what ways to find between the consumers and the producers? How will you manage? How did you manage? How could you manage to transmit the way you work and what you do? We're not only in a fair detail environment, there are true contract and hard facts that are presented on wrappings. How can we change this? Our farm is part of a foundation called Biovision, and this foundation wants to show all the steps accomplished between the field and the cellar. When the foundation bought the few buildings, we left the elderly buildings, which was transformed into a cheesery, into a bakery, into a meat processing part. And the foundation has also concluded and created a platform with other organic producing farmers of the area. Our farm, with a restaurant, of course, has a small museum, has a small shop, welcomes many visitors every week. Sometimes groups come like you did with Biovision. And for me, this is definitely or certainly the best way to show in a tangible way what is done, what we do. It opens discussions, it stimulates discussions, and hence we try to explain what we do, why we do it, and how we do it. So it really helps us to explain our work. In other words, we urban creatures can and could still learn very much from you. Still, sensibilizing consumer isn't done by every farm, by every production entity. How could we improve this? We try to motivate visitors to come back with either their company, or why not celebrate a birthday or a wedding, and then one can see what happens. You can walk into the cheesery, you can see the baker, how and what he does. You can stand in the kitchen, meaning all the transformation and the processing steps can be followed, can be seen. Is that really worth the while to take on to you all those efforts? Of course, we needed a initiative capital to launch the idea. We need support, we need time, we need people, but the foundation is there to support us. The foundation has given us, is still giving us the time to develop our ideas. Our museum, our agricultural museum, has just opened and explains what agriculture is or can be. And the visitor then walks out by knowing what has been happening. We are collaborating with the pedagogical high schools where classes come and visit us. We have to start anew almost from birth, from very young age on. In other words, it's a support you find in your work. You have also developed the supply chain, the marketing chain, the sales chain. Right, we have. The farmers should be able to earn more and earn more in a fair way. And with the Association of Swiss Bio or Organic Farmers, we try to present our work. And of course, nobody was sitting at a corner of a street waiting for us to appear. There must be a good story. There must be a way of trying to make our produce attractive. Volume alone is definitely not the solution. So yes, the road isn't always easy. And what do you expect from politics to help you in this field? Our politicians also lead the way in a certain way, and definitely are more and more interested in organic ways of producing, but we are on the good trail. Of course, I'd appreciate if clients were to stimulate those directions far more, to also push these changes. So, Stephanie, you said that consumers, when they enter a shop and buy something, they should be able to trust what's written on the package. Where are my responsibilities? Where are the responsibilities of politicians? Where do they lie? Well, a huge question. What should politicians do? What should each and every one of us do? Of course, I don't have the one and only answer, because both parties are needed. As a client, it is essential, I believe, that one tries to realize the part of responsibility we carry when we start buying this or that, be it Migros or other names. Products are produced far, far, far away, some of them not all. So yes, how to sensibilize the client that he or she, when buying, has an impact on this entire system. At the same time, these are just one or two or three people here. Hoping that everybody would do that one day would be nice, but that isn't enough. Climate change, being one of the topics concerned by our behavior, is another side of the medal, and youth is moving far more in this direction, wants to change something in this direction, and thus also move our politicians, move our governments to intervene more rapidly. But the time by now is said that if you want something sustainable, you'll have to pay for it. The margin is off high, isn't it, Mr. Migros, dear friend? I'm being provocative now. Can we pay for it? Are we ready to pay for it? What should be changed so that everybody can pay those products? How should I answer this question? Of course, we lose people on the way. We know that. We're aware of it. It could develop into something very elitaire, very, very specific, because those products are more expensive. We know it. But developing this way, functioning this way, producing this way also implies that the people behind them earn a proper life, earn a proper income. But if it becomes too expensive, then one goes abroad, one shops in neighboring countries. What would our politicians then have to do to guarantee that the offer of sustainable products becomes more affordable? any solution? I'm not a politician, says Ms. Hess. I hope that new and other possibilities will appear, that here in Switzerland too we manage to keep the clients. But of course I have no one answer. Mr. Kammer, you have the answer, don't you? Tell us. How does Migros intend to move on this road? What are your projects? Well, one of the important elements is that our partners, the farmers, that we keep an excellent relationship with them, that we talk to them, that we talk with them about pricing, that we can guarantee fair and sustainable incomes. That is definitely one important step. But on the other hand, as Ms. Hess just mentioned, we have a responsibility to share in responsibility. So it is up to us that the incomes achieved or generated are invested in a proper and correct way. You're talking about direct payments, aren't you? What about those direct payments that they land with the people who deserve it? Well, says Mr. Hammer, it's definitely with the people who offer more, who are ready to work more, like Demeter Productions and BioSwiss Productions. That could be the right way to proceed. Can you, as a large distributor, also bring your share? Well, as I said before, if the assortment is vast enough and rich enough in organic products, it is one way that we can proceed. And here and there, with foundations like the one just mentioned, it's the last thing to show what we do with imported products, inform the clients about what we do with imported products. It is our duty. It is our obligation to try and establish sustainability in all we buy. Where are the challenges? Which challenges can be taken on shore, and how can we proceed with them? When should we proceed with traditional production methods and open a door to other production ways, while also investing locally in training programs, in the building of schools to keep and to maintain traditional production ways. That's what we do in the Maldives, in Indonesia, or for example, when tuna is fished. These are very concrete and specific examples where we really succeed positively. So direct payments don't help there. How then do you function with taxes or with labels for sustainable products? How can you, would you proceed? What we'd like to offer, as I said before, a scope of sustainable products that will become larger and larger over the years. But it's not our one and only topic. We want that production is done in a sustainable way, in an organic way. But we can't, of course, influence the entire chain of value creation products. What do we do with non-food? What do we do with textile? We do try to control that the way these are produced are done in sustainable ways, of course. But if you were a politician working in our capital, what would you try to change first of all? By placing the main point, the main focus on Switzerland first, and hoping that the money we can invest are invested where we know something can be changed, really changed. Yvonne Lötscher, you have financed and demanded a study to be written. Is Zurich diverse? Is it sustainable? We participated, also co-financed these studies, this analysis. And today we can say that Zurich is a regional, lives and functions according to a regional approach. And the quota of regional produce is larger than in other cantons, but it's limited to 13 products like meat, like apples, like carrots. What I found quite interesting in this study that about 60% of produce come to us through
über die Gastronomie. Und es unterstreicht eben auch, dass nicht nur der Detailhandel und der Einzelkonsument Akteur in diesem System ist, sondern
through retail. But in Zurich, the gastronomy has a strong influence on our way of buying and proceeding, meaning that Zurich people enjoy eating in restaurants. What does the city do to encourage them to eat also in restaurants where local produce is proposed? In our own restaurants, we definitely try to realize all kinds of projects with local products, local produce, and created a data bank with creative organic vegetarian menus where cooks can try and find the menus that appeal to them. We also try to sensibilize people to buy differently, so no products that come from the other side of the planet or fair trade coffee. Another aspect is that by collaborating with smaller restaurants, with private gastronomy sector. Due to Corona, of course, a few things had to be reduced, but we did manage to offer 2 webinars where one could show and teach cooks and restaurants to limit waste and to buy differently. Another project that has not been realized, but it's still planned, is to prepare doggy boxes, meaning that doggy bags, to animate clients to take the leftovers of a meal back home. It is true, the English-speaking society is used to it. We are not yet. And that is something that we try to promote. Well, I'm very, very curious to see what will happen in the future.
Gehört. Ich weiß nicht, ob es Rückfragen zwischen den Gästen auch gibt.
Ja.
Ja.
Ich möchte noch etwas sagen. Ich finde nicht, dass die Bioprodukte für irgendwer in der Schweiz zu teuer sind. Wir geben etwa 6% aus für die Lebensmittel. Das war vor wenigen Jahren noch 10, 20, 30%. Und das kann man nicht sagen, das Lebensmittel ist zu teuer. Es ist viel zu billig. Und vor allem sind die konventionellen... ja.
Yes, I think that our products are not so too expensive. They are too cheap if we think about the organic products that have risen. Yes, I would like to add, in the 60s, 60% of the income of a family was used for food. Now it's much less. It's 20 or 30%. No, it's only 7%. But if we have a certain style of living or lifestyle, for example, which was geared to more meat, and I think today it's not possible for a few people just to put it all into non-meat food or non-meat eating habits. So we would have to change a lot so that people can actually really buy more vegetarian. I just got the signal I have to come to a final round. Clear question to all of you. What are you doing in your personal life if you're promoting sustainability? And what do you actually recommend our audience to do? Well, I love my profession. It's wonderful to work together with creation, with nature, with animals, with plants. And I can just repeat this because it's wonderful to have a lot of possibilities with lots of people. Now, what do I say to the people, to the audience here? If I do guided tours, and that was the case during the last referendums, popular referendums, and I told the people, just by the way you vote. So that would mean that we would have about 40% of organically grown food. And as much as I see you, it would be great that you spread the message, spread the news into the society, and go shopping according this shopping list. Yvonne Lötscher, what about you? For my work, it's relevant that it's not only diversity in soil and agriculture, but also that there are a lot of sustainable solutions to the problems. I don't think there's one golden rule regulating every problem. Therefore, my external wish is that continue with what you already do, shop in a better way, sustainably, and try to find new solutions. Just think back. What about your own food style? How much is the share of food production or the plants, the vegetarian part, big enough? Or could you go vegan twice in a week? And look at your fridge and pay attention to that nothing goes rotten, because food waste, sustainability, and the style of what you eat needs more attention. That also means that we have to leave some good habits. Yes, of course, but it's fun and it's good for our health. Now, what about you, Mr. Kammerer? The take-back messages. I think we all have to question our own lifestyle, and we have to learn to renounce from certain things. For example, not flying that often very much. We have to use a consciousness when we go shopping. We should do it in a sustainable way, certainly consume less meat, and try to avoid food waste. And if we can do that all, we are ahead a big step. Stefanie Hess, you have the final word, so to speak. What I think it's most important is that you here are all very conscious, sustainably consuming people, but sometimes I get lost and I despair that you try your best and still you have to fly, or for example you see a discount price for a poultry product and you just go in, and I think you can be generous, a little bit generous to yourself, and you can admit you have failed, but you still continue to go your way. So try your best and don't despair. I think this was a wonderful final word. Thank you very much to the guests of our panel discussion. That was an interesting insight in the issue of the sustainable food production and food consumption ways. I think they deserve a big clap of hands.